Hey mom, who just stayed up for 4 days straight cleaning up vomit. I see you. Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Jalen. I'm a part-time family physician and I'm a full-time mom to 3. My husband and I live in the inland Northwest, not Seattle, farther inland, hence the inland part. Welcome to our shop. The furnace is broken in here, so it's freezing cold. It was 29 degrees last night. I love fall. Today I wanted to talk to you about 3 major things that I think everyone should know when it comes to Vomirrhea, diavomit. There were multiple words that I got from Urban Dictionary that were stellar to explain this condition that we call gastroenteritis. We're not talking about food poisoning, but we're talking about viruses or bacteria that can contribute to vomiting and diarrhea. First of all, if you've ever suffered from this, I'm really sorry you were sick. And I'm laughing because it really sucks. Vomiting and diarrhea, I think, is one of the worst things ever. And for those of us who have had entire families that have been quote unquote wiped out by a stomach bug, it really sucks when you're a mom, because I think that most of the time I'm the one that gets stuck doing the mountains, like literal mountains of laundry. And I'm laughing about it because that's all I can do at this point in time. I do have to give you the disclaimer that this is for entertainment purposes only. It's not to be taken as medical advice, and I would always encourage an open communication with your healthcare provider if you have concerns about you, yourself, or I. I'm done. This is ridiculous. The very first thing to realize is that most of these situations where vomiting and diarrhea occur that is not related to food intake are from viruses, and viruses need a human host to survive most of the time. I'm going to tell you about 2 viruses in just a minute that don't need a human host to survive in jumping from host to host. In other words, they will die eventually without a human host. However, in the interim, they're very hardy to things like alcohol-based cleaners or weather changes. So that being said, the fact that most of them are caused by viruses and most of them will go away on their own. We just have to get through it, and that's the terrible part about this whole thing. But I would encourage you to listen to the rest of the video because there is one of these that looks very similar to viruses, but it is not, and it does require treatment and attention from medical professionals. Our bodies are designed to keep us going or to get going again. I mean, not going to the bathroom, you already have done plenty of that. But the second thing that I think it's important to realize is that we just have to get through them. I have a Tupperware container in our hallway closet that holds all of our medications and vitamins and linens. And inside this container is a package of gallon-sized Ziploc bags, a few packages of glow sticks from the dollar store, a heating pad, as well as a microwavable stuffed animal. I will link a couple, they're not even affiliate links, down below. Absorbable blanket that is waterproof on one side and absorbent on the other side to catch said body fluids. And Pedialyte. So the Ziploc bags are actually to catch puke. We don't use garbage cans or pots and pans because frankly, the sound of those being dumped into the toilet makes me want to vomit, even if I am not sick. We put one Ziploc bag inside the other. We put the glow stick between those 2 Ziploc bags. And in the middle of the night, whoever is sick can look for that glowing glow stick in the dark, and they can aim their body fluids at said glow stick and land almost perfectly accurately inside the Ziploc bag. Then that inside Ziploc bag gets zipped and thrown right in the trash. There is no more dumping puke. There is no more accidentally spilling puke in the hallway. There is no more overflowing a pot or pan with puke because it's just disgusting, and I even want to. In most of these scenarios, we aim for oral rehydration. We want people to rehydrate themselves after dehydration from body fluid loss orally. Sometimes in dire circumstances, we'll give IV fluids or intravenous hydration. When you take large sips and your body is already trying to expel everything that's inside, it's much more likely that you're going to vomit. We have a rule that the kids know that when they're sick and they have a belly bug, they can't swallow more than twice without a 5 to 10 minute break if they're really, really sick. One other tip is to not buy red Pedialyte, because if you have diarrhea or your kids have diarrhea, the gastrointestinal transit time, the amount of time it takes to digest that red liquid, is very short. And it is not an uncommon thing to have people come in and say, oh my gosh, my kid has bloody diarrhea, and it's actually just red Pedialyte. So choose purple or some other color that your poop will never be in order to just be a little on the safe side. The third thing to keep in mind is to please don't spread it. We should all be at this point quite familiar with what quarantine looks like, and I would strongly suggest that you do this if you're even feeling remotely sick or if you've been around someone who's remotely sick. If there's anything we've learned in 2020, it's that we're a lot dirtier people than we thought we were in 2019. Most all of these viruses are spread via fecal-oral route. That sounds disgusting, and it actually is. It means that people who are sick are getting small specks of poop on their hands, and they're spreading it to buffet lines and objects and handshakes. So wash your hands, people, and stay home if you've been sick or exposed to someone who's sick. There are 3 particularly contagious pathogens, so viruses and 1 bacteria, that we're going to talk about. And I think these are particularly important because they should change how you clean your house. Oh my gosh, there's a woodpecker. How rude. The top 3 offenders in this category are Norovirus, Rotavirus, and Clostridioides difficile. Newsflash, guys, medicine changes, and they actually changed the name of C. diff from Clostridium difficile to Clostridioides. I think it sounds a lot more like a cluster when you use Clostridioides. Anyway, all 3 of them cause vomiting, diarrhea, usually profusely watery, and no blood. Some of these are associated with a low-grade temperature, and some of them can even cause a not low-grade temperature, like a legit 101, 102 degree fever. And all of them can lead to severe dehydration. And this is the biggest concern with any of these, but it's a particular concern in extra vulnerable populations like infants or the elderly or people who are immunocompromised. Our body has a very tight regulation on our electrolytes in healthy people, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be doing. But when you get such massive fluid losses through vomiting and profuse diarrhea, sometimes our body isn't able to keep up, and this is when things get dangerous. Norovirus is known as the cruise ship virus, and this is one that you hear about outbreaks on cruise ship, except in the year 2020, where you only hear about COVID on cruise ships, which is not norovirus if you're wondering. It's actually responsible for 1 in 5 gastroenteritis infections. So 1 in 5 people who experience vomiting and watery diarrhea are going to be diagnosed with norovirus. Most of the time it's a clinical diagnosis. I rarely run poop samples on people who are sick, but it is worth mentioning that if you've been somewhere, if you've been traveling or around large groups of people, or you've been around a lot of other people who have developed vomiting and diarrhea, it's certainly worth considering getting tested after a discussion with your own healthcare provider. Rotavirus is something that we vaccinate for below the age of 1 year. The last one that is not a virus and is a bacteria is Clostridioides difficile, or it used to be called Clostridium difficile, but now we just refer to it as C. diff. C. diff is a bacteria, and it's a spore-like bacteria, which means that it's particularly hardy against heat and alcohol and, like the hand sanitizer, guys, not the bottle of wine that you're drinking, cold weather. It's just a hardy bacteria. And this means, unfortunately, that it is not killed by alcohol-based hand sanitizer. 0, zilch, not killed at all. It's also not killed by natural cleaners. 0, zilch, at all. It's not killed by vinegar. It's not killed by Mrs. Myers. It's not killed by Green Clean or even Pine Sol. It's really disgusting. And in cases where it's severe, C. diff can lead to what we call toxic megacolon. I'm just going to do a little pause here, and I'm going to wait for you to go to Google and Google toxic megacolon and click on images. It's fine. I'll wait. Did you do it? How gross is that? It's where the colon becomes so inflamed that it becomes toxic and starts to die. And people can die from this. It's really serious. My point in all of this is that I'm so sorry for your pile of vomit laundry, but this is what I want you to hear. None of those things are killed by any sort of magic other than hydrogen peroxide or bleach. That's right, people. you should keep a container of bleach in your house. And this is so important because in some of these, it takes less than 10 viral particles to infect a person. 10. Do you know how small a viral particle is? Really small. So in conclusion, expect to get belly bugs. There really is nothing we can do about it. This is our body's way of sampling and testing and recovering from exposures in the environment. I don't care what cleaner you use most of the time, but if anyone in your household or anyone that has been in your household develops vomiting or diarrhea, I would strongly suggest that you just get out the bleach. What concentration of bleach? I'm so glad you asked. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, I'll put the link down below, you should use 1,000 to 5,000 parts per million. 5 to 25 tablespoons per gallon of water. That's it. You clean highly used surfaces, light switches, toilet seats, sinks, doorknobs, etc. You should be a pro at this by now because of 2020. And hopefully all of you recover without incident. If things last longer than you think they should, I would strongly encourage a conversation with your healthcare provider. And we're going to talk later about trying to find a healthcare provider that listens to you, because it is so important to recognize that I will look you eye to eye and I will tell you, use bleach. I'm sorry about your laundry, and it sucks that you're sick. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment box below. Thank you for joining me in my beautiful, unfinished shop with no furnace. Can you see my breath yet? Because it's cold in here. See you later. Bye.